Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Power Vacuum. I'm your host, Belmont. And many of you may or may not know, I'm sure many of you do, I am a huge Fallout fan. I've been a Fallout fan since the original game. I love one, I love two. Two is personally my favorite overall. And then of the new Bethesda Fallouts, I would have to go with New Vegas. Hands down, my favorite. And then probably a close second is the Nuka World expansion of Fallout 4. I think I had more fun just doing the Nuka World expansion than I did in the rest of Fallout 4. But we have this very fascinating story that came out from PC Gamer a couple days ago. Fallout 1 and 2 source code isn't lost after all. Thanks to one hero programmer, I made it a quest to snapshot everything. Rebecca Heineman, one of Interplay's founders, kept the receipts. Tim Kaine, lead developer of the original Fallout, recently lamented the loss of Fallout's earliest development materials. When he left Interplay, he was told to delete his copies of early builds, even his notes from development meetings, and apparently Interplay has since lost not only the source code, but also the original Fallout artwork and the clay models that were scanned to make the 3D talking heads some of its NPCs are blessed with. Now, I'm willing to bet the clay models weren't lost, but lost to time. Clay sitting in a room, in a box probably, that's not being kept or controlled or monitored, probably would distort and warp to the point where they might no longer be viable or recognizable. It happened with the original Ninja Turtle suits because they were made of foam. They degraded. Now, clay doesn't degrade the way foam does, but it can malform or disform, or it could possibly either lose all moisture and crumble or retain too much moisture and droop and sag. So I feel like that's probably more of the case with the clay models than it is they just lost them. Where was I? Fortunately, it turns out Interplay co founder and programmer Rebecca Heineman kept copies of the source code for Fallout 1 and 2, as she told Video Gamer. In 1993, Interplay published a CD collecting one game it published in each of the previous 10 years, including Battle Chest, Bard's Tale, The Lord of the Rings Volume 1, and the original Wasteland. Heinemann put the anthology together using her own copies of the source code of those games, except for Wasteland. When she went looking for it, she discovered others weren't putting as much effort into backups. As she explained, I asked for the source and was given a blank stare. I went to the COO's office and he gave me a cardboard box that looked like it was run over by a truck and it had some source of floppies or source on floppies. I ended up contacting friends of EA to get a copy of the source we sent them when Wasteland shipped. From then on, Heinemann took snapshots of the code for each game she worked on at Interplay, as well as those she ported for MacPlay, which was originally a division of Interplay before being licensed out. I made it a quest to snapshot everything and archive it on CD-ROMs, Heinemann said. When I left Interplay in 1995, I had copies of every game we did, no exceptions. When I did MacPlay, which existed beyond my tenure at Interplay, every game was ported. I snapshotted. It included Fallout 1 and 2. Heinemann previously made the source code for the 3DO version of Doom freely available on GitHub. I wrote the code, so I gave myself permission, and I asked id Software, and they said, sure. Fallout would require permission from Bethesda. I hadn't gotten around to asking them. They are on my list, she said. Given that Bethesda is currently on a goodwill tour with Oblivion Remastered, even giving shoutouts to the modders working on Skyblivion, it sure would be nice to see them give thumbs up to the permanent archival of these two influential RPGs. And there you go. It seems that the supposedly lost code of Fallout 1 and 2 isn't lost. Now, it doesn't say it in this article, but I do remember it may have been the original video game article or video gamer article. She states that if they give her permission, she is going to absolutely release the code. It made it a quest a snapshot. Interplay had a reputation. Oh, here we go. Oh, we have more here. Um, Now Kane's comments on why the source code was assumed lost were not without merit at all. Heinemann explained that Interplay management did order the destruction of property for anyone who left the company, including Kane. This is the article from Video Gamer, by the way. Interplay had issues with people leaving the firm, and if you quit, they got testy, she explained. I was a founder, so when I left, I kept everything. Now, on Fallout, I did the Mac port for my company, MacPlay, so I have everything, including the source code for Fallout 1 and 2. Now, I don't have Tim's notes or other works in progress files, but the source code is not lost. Interplay had a reputation of threatening ex employees with litigation if they were poached, and if they had assets taken home, they continued. However, they had no legal leg to stand on, where was it? Which was why a suit was never filed on anyone. If they did have a legal leg to stand on, I would have been sued into last week. The Fallout and Fallout 2 source code is still kept privately by Heineman, but there is a desire to release them. As the programmer explained, she can't simply release the game's source codes to the wild as they are actively sold products protected under copyright. In the past, the programmer publicly released her port of Doom on 3DO GitHub, but Fallout is a little more complicated. Art data was totally defunct. I wrote the code, so I gave myself permission. And I asked id Software, it's what I just read from the other thing. I need express permission to release despite the source code being pretty much obsolete, Heinemann replied when we asked why the game's source code hasn't been uploaded to the internet. As for why that conversation with Bethesda hasn't taken place, the simpler answer is time. Heinemann is currently in the midst of bringing Mac Play back, working to bring native ports on casual and AAA games to the Mac, just like she did back in the 90s. The opportunity dropped in my lap a few years back, and it took a long time to negotiate the deal. I'm one of the people at Interplay who championed the creation of Mac Play in the first place, so it has meaning to me. Also, there's a dearth of games on Mac, and I'm a Mac programmer, so it's a great much. Blah blah blah. So this was a long interview they did with her, but the meat and potatoes is that Fallout 1 and 2 are still out there. They're in the wild right now. Well, they're not in the wild. I'm sorry. They're under lock and key, and hopefully, if Bethesda wants to be a good guy company, they can say, "Hey, you know what? Do it. Release the codes for Fallout 1 and 2. Let people start making their own clones, like true clones of Fallout. Let somebody just go ahead and remake the whole game and then see if they can upscale that and basically create what was one of the greatest point and click adventures of all time." I think Five Nights at Freddy's has taken that mantle because Five Nights at Freddy, whether you want to admit it, is a point and click adventure. And Fallout, the original one and two, were point and click adventures in a sense. Very detailed, lore and narrative driven point and click adventures, but that was pretty much the basics of the game. You clicked on something, you pointed your mouse at it, you clicked on it, things happened. But yeah, this is super cool. I hope she gets to release this because it would be awesome to just see a new version of Fallout or a reimagining, a remaster, or whatever you want to call it. Somebody just getting the code and putting it back out there. And also to see what people can come up when they have access to the code. It is an ancient code. It is something that isn't really used anymore. It was a proprietary system, but it'll be cool. I think it'd be super cool. But that's all I have for this story. This is your host, Belmont, signing out.